Hello, I am Quinny. Welcome to the channel, guys. We are here for episode 3 of how to build your club on SoRare, and we're going to be talking about region configuration. Okay, so if you're brand new, you're probably starting out at All-Star D4 and you're thinking to yourself, how do I branch out into these regions without spreading myself too thin? We're going to be talking about all that in the video today, as well as a few other little nuggets of experience and info that I'm happy to share with you guys. I hope you enjoy this video. Please do not forget to smash that thumbs up button, like the video for me, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and let's get stuck into it. Now for me, this is where I come to for the drawing board, when I'm trying to make sure that my gallery is well balanced across different regions and all this kind of stuff as well, okay? If you're watching this video, there's a fair chance you get less than 50 cards or so, so going into this kind of analysis should shed some light on your current gallery standings and on your club. So the first thing to remember, right, is when you look at All-Star and when you look at under 23s, that amalgamates all regions for you, okay, automatically, so you don't need to worry about going down. But what I always do is I look into my gallery, my club, like I've got on screen here now. I'll then roll through the regions, and I'll also have the little tab open for the position breakdown, like you can see on the screen here as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to glance through these, and you'll see the numbers as they pop up. And actually, can we make this a little bit bigger? And I think it's as big as it goes. And you'll see kind of how I've got it balanced. Now, some of the numbers you're going to see for the positional ones are very deliberate, and you can check out the last episode of this series to see exactly how those ratios balance out for me when I'm picking cards up for squad 1 and squad 2 and whatever, okay? But when you're brand new, you're going to start an All-Star D4 and you're going to be chasing down those E thresholds, you're going to be chasing down those tier 3, those tier 2 card rewards, okay? But it's going to be much more profitable for you as time goes on, and as you win cards, as you buy more cards, trade cards, whatever, to have plan B open to you. Can I then, if the fixtures fall right, throw a wee team into Challenger Europe? Do I then strengthen my team up so much that I just make America region my number 1 D4, and then I've got some odds and ends that will fill up my All-Star? These different configurations, okay? So when I look at Champion Europe, as you can see here, my numbers are quite modest, you know, so I've got, as I mentioned in the ratios one, I'm a bit heavier in midfield and up front. I try and keep my defence and my goalkeeper quite trim. For Challenger Europe, again, quite similar, but you'll see Challenger Europe is a bit less populated. It's actually a wee bit more populated than I thought it might have done, to be honest with you. I think that may be because of my Sam Nicholson cards, perhaps. And I've just won a bunch, actually, so that will probably fill it out a little bit. But again, you'll see the same thing rings true. Champion Asia, you'll see I have very little to, you know, cards that are actually in this region, you know, all the 4s and then a couple extra in midfield. And then for Champion America, which is how many midfielders I've got in this region, so I've got 22 midfielders in this region, and then my forwards, my goalkeepers, my defenders, you can see how all of them are stacked, okay? But if you think about in the last video when we were talking about the ratios in the squad for just building out 1 D4, you know, whether it be in All-Star or whether it be in Asia, let's assume it's in D4, right? What you want to be able to do is have as little restrictions upon your acquisition strategy as possible, because you want to be going out and getting the best player at the best price for your global All-Star or for your global under 23s, regardless of region. The guys that can hit the ground running for you over the next 4 to 6 weeks and get you in amongst the prizes, okay? But what you need to then prepare for is step 2. What then happens once you've got so strong in that position that the club demands expansion, you either move up into D3 or you move out the way into other D4s, is you should try and make sure that when you're building that initial global setup, that you try and amalgamate 2 different regions into it, okay? Now, the 2 regions that I would recommend anyone starting on SoRare within the last, let's say, 3 to 4 months, the 2 regions that are probably, well, there's 3, right? Challenger Europe, 100%, right? Now, the Challenger Europe region as a whole is very liquid in the sense that there's lots of cards in there. There's lots of cards that go up and down in form. Some guys you can get really cheap and take them on an elevator almost. You know, their form picks up, their price picks up. You get some, you're able to produce some produce into the club, into the gallery, and then you can maybe sell them on and maybe downgrade and do the same journey again with another card that's out of form or injured or whatever. But equally then, you want to try and make sure that you're controlling your acquisition so that when you are able to branch out, your D4 gets so strong, you're ready to go into other D4s, that you know what those D4s will be already. You're not then scratching your head, looking at this breakdown in your club and thinking, oh, do you know what? I've got 10 cards in Challenger. I've got 3 Asian cards, and I've got 2 American cards, and I've got 1 champion Europe. What D4 do I go to next? And then your mind's boggled. Oh, well, I really like that guy, and I don't want to sell him, and I've got him now, and I just won this card. And then you're giving yourself too much of a pickle, too much of a problem to solve. Keep it really straight from the level up. So Challenger, if you're looking for European cards, duh. Challenger Europe is the best region to be operating in financially, because Champion Europe is just really expensive. And saying that, with some of the clubs we've had come on board recently, the Genoas and the Udineses of the world, there could be a cheaper entry point in Champion Europe on the horizon as more clubs come on board, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But the thing with Challenger Europe as well is those players, when they transfer out of Portugal and Holland and Belgium and all these countries, they tend to go into the Champion Europe, so it can also be a little backdoor into some of those into that region in particular. The other one I would recommend probably above all else is probably the Americas region, but you could probably do it with the Asia region depending on your appetite for information. The reason I say Americas is because it is an English-speaking league, English-speaking, media and outlets and all that kind of thing, so it can be quite easy to attain information and get your finger on the pulse. So if you're starting off and you're building up your your all-star D4 situation, I would highly recommend you try and group together Challenger in America, maybe Asia, depends on your appetite, as I said, cards together. So then throughout 12 months of the year, both of those regions will have activity that crosses over. So you're not going to be left, without a region to compete in, or without a team able to field when this season turns off or when that season starts, that kind of thing. And also as well, the strength that are in those cards, they can go together and gel really well for these all-star, these global under-23 lineups. And when you look at the leaderboards for these regions, you will find a lot of Americas and Challenger Europe cards do populate the winning entries, because a lot of these cards do score really well. If you've got a Porto player, Porto play 85% of their matches against minnow teams that they should be beating every week. Similar to Ajax, similar to Bruges, there's a few powerhouse clubs. You just look at Russia with Zenit and Spartak. There's some powerhouse clubs in these regions that should win most of their matches, and if you've got key players in those clubs, they will score well, and that's what gets you on the leaderboard, is good football players doing good football. So when you're configuring your regions, guys, I would try and pin it to 2, and I would try and have it Asia or America, because their calendars can be similar in terms of the J League and the K League, and Challenger Euro, because it's the European calendar. Those cards are generally cheaper. You can get young prospects that will move in a champion, and it offers you a lot of different opportunities as time goes on, for the collectible side of things, as well as maybe eventually from global you win a champion Europe card. You maybe win a Navas, or you win some sort of goalkeeper perhaps, or that star striker like a Sane or a Depay or something. Thinking about guys that might be tier 1 kind of level, you might realistically get into quite feasibly. And then you can go, do you know what? Well, I've picked up these 2 Champion Euro cards, one from under 23s and one from Global, when I bagged those cards that week. And do you know what? Those 2 Challenger Euro guys, they've just moved to France. One signed for Marseille, another one signed for Lille or whatever, and then all of a sudden, boom, you've got a champion outfit. There's some guys in the America region that are making transfers inward to Europe. You can see some guys are South American, like Almiron, go to Newcastle. You'll see some other guys like Daryl DK go to Barnsley, and I know Barnsley at the moment are Championship, and that's a Challenger region, but it's cross-pond transfers, but you can capitalise on, depending on the player, depending on the situation. Alphonso Davies being the poster child of this, of course, as well as like Gio Reyna. But yeah, so I would try and focus yourself into 2 regions, and I would have them at opposite ends of the calendar, Summer League and Winter League almost, because that's kind of how they do operate. And then that makes sure you've always covered for a region. You always get the ability to go into global and under 23s if that's how you're building your gallery. It just gives you a lot more options and a lot more power. And if you cross-reference all that information I've just given you with the last video in terms of the ratios and how you want to build that D4 outfit out, you'll quickly find yourself in a really strong position with like 30 or 40 cards, without needing to go and get as many cards as I've got, like 130, or even other guy's friend of the channel, Grant, Hybe, he's got like 500 or something. You don't need to go to that extent, as long as your acquisition strategy is a bit more considered, a bit more deliberate, and a bit more controlled. You can actually get many more miles out of the amount of cards you probably have already, or you're very close to having. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. I've had a lot of fun kind of chatting this through with you. Don't forget to like, comment down below. Let me know, is there something else in this kind of topic that I've skimmed over you'd want a bit more detail on? Is there something you would add into this video to give it a bit more value to anyone who's picking this up, who's brand new? Any experiences you've any experiences you've had, any lessons you've learned, that kind of thing, guys. Drop them in the comment section down below. Yeah, I better pop on the screen now with some other stuff I've made. You might like that as well. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.